Okay, so we've got two silhouettes in here, but I want to talk to you guys about a few things relating to those silhouettes. So first, I'm going to talk about um, just kind of visual styles and how you might change what it is or becomes, and what you want to show. And then the other is adding shadows. So the cool thing, let's actually start with shadows, I think, because uh, I think shadows are one of the things that if you just add a single soft shadow for these simple elements, it actually breathes so much life into your rendering. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of this first guy there, and I'm just going to look at this second guy right here. Um, First off, I kind of need to clean this one up because there's a little edge around him that's like a little white profile, and I don't want that, so I'll show you a tip for that. Basically, if you use the magic wand tool and you select everything around him, which, by the way, there we go, I want to get that one. So you'll see that it'll select a little bit outside of the black profile. So we can what's called feather the selection and pull it in 1 pixel, and it'll help get rid of that. So let's go to select, and I'm going to go to modify, or I'm sorry, not feather it, expand or contract it. It depends where we are. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, so we have, what you need to think of is that like this is the area that is selected, so you need to expand it one so that it goes one into the silhouette. So let's go to select, we're going to go to expand, we're going to do 1 pixel. Notice how that jumped in a little bit. So once you hit delete, you go back off of it and it gives you a solid just black profile, which is really nice. So that's just a quick Photoshop trick. So let's talk about that shadow. So shadows are really simple, I think. You can do a few things to them to get them to, I think, read properly. One thing that you need to be careful of is how it actually connects to the body, because if you kind of disconnect it the wrong way, it's going to look really funny. So anyway, let's duplicate this, and I'm going to call this, well, I'm not going to name it. Well, actually, yeah, I will. I'm going to call this shadow. So it's the same thing, basically. It's another profile. And when I take that profile, I'm going to free transform, and we're just going to pull it down. Pretty cool, right? So this gets a little tricky too, because you kind of like you need to be careful about how far other shadows are being cast when you're doing something like this. So sometimes it takes a little bit of context clues, but it's kind of like an eye thing. You know, you don't want to stretch it out too much, and you don't want to leave it too short. Like if I were to take this thing and stretch it out like that, it's probably a little too stretched out. Actually, with where that light is, it's probably all right. So that's kind of I kind of like it where it is. The other thing you want to do with shadows is you never want to leave them straight black shadows, because no shadow is exactly black. Yeah, so well, you could do a few things. First, you want to make sure that you pull the opacity down and just kind of lighten it up a little bit, so that's going to read like a healthier shadow. Now, you need to bear in mind all the other light in the space. So if your light is coming primarily from one source or one direction, then your shadow is going to be deeper and it's going to be sharper, if that makes any sense. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Deeper and sharper, like deeper black and a sharper edge. Let's just kind of Google something real quick. Okay, so when you're looking at this, basically, these are shadows of people out in the sun with a really strong sun, and also, you know, the camera and stuff matters as well. But if you have something where there are multiple sources of light like this, it gets a little softer and it actually fades out a little bit. Also, the closer to the object it is, it gets a little sharper as well, obviously. However, that's a little difficult sometimes and time consuming. But in Photoshop, you know, all you have to do is just fade it out a little bit, and nobody's really going to think twice about it. So because this particular render has a lot of light and it's coming from all different spaces, I'm going to leave my opacity a little bit lower. I think even around this 25% is pretty good. So then finally, the other thing I want to do is blur it. So I'm going to go to filter, we'll go to blur, and I'll probably do a Gaussian blur. Let's find that thing. Okay, so you can kind of fade it out as far as you think you're comfortable with, and then it just softens that edge a little bit. So hopefully you agree that this is a pretty healthy shadow. It's not perfect, but it breathes that degree of life into the render that I think everything really should. Okay, what questions do you have on that? Yeah.
And then where the feet touches should be darker than or is it
Well, yeah, it should be a little darker. If you want to do like a gradient on it, you sometimes can, but oftentimes it's not worth it. Like the degree of how much darker it is for this isn't that different. So for me, like I'd rather not spend the time on that and just kind of move on to other things. Okay, so the other thing I was going to talk about is other ways of representing these people. So I just showed you a silhouette, which is really popular in the rendering world, but you'll see in architectural renderings, people are using real people. They're using like cartoonish or sketchy people. Sometimes they're using like translucency and stuff. One thing I want to caution you about is when you start to use translucent people, the shadows become a little bit more difficult to work with because they start reading like people laying on the ground. So anyway, one thing you can do with a black silhouette is just change it to a white silhouette if you want. And the easiest way to do that is to just select the layer and go to Adjustments and then say Invert. Oh, that's right. It doesn't do that. Let's just do it this way. This is probably the easiest way. Just select the profile and then paint over it. Wait, what am I on? That's weird. 32 anti-alias. What the heck?
Kevin,
Yeah.
is it because earlier you changed the settings to make everything white reddish?
Oh, you're right. That's why. Good call. Yeah, it's this. Okay, so I can't make it white on that. Can I on a duplicate, though? Duplicate. Okay. Yeah, because I hit delete on the other one, so this should be fine. Image. Adjustments. Invert. There you go. So you like black and white are really popular for the like the more academic renders, so you don't get totally distracted. But you can use real people as well, and you can do a bunch of things with them. Let's try and find a profile of like a real person. And you always want to kind of search for like a white background or something. Let's pick this dancing lady. She's having a lot of fun. All right, this looks like a cool place. I want to go here. There you go. Something like that. So let's do, this is going to get a little funky because the shadows and stuff are a little weird. But let me grab that. Let's go to like 10. That's probably not a good one. Let's see if I can find one that doesn't have color issues. Let's see. Somebody who's not wearing white. This dude. No, he's got a thingamajigger. Alright, this guy. Oh, he's got some white on there. This girl. Okay, this will be easier. I just don't want to waste your time. Like, that was a really good image, and it's easy enough to just Photoshop around it, but I didn't want to waste your time on that. So let's do the same thing with this. We're going to just get rid of the white. Boom, done. She's ready to go. All right, free transform. Let's get her sized up. So we're going to go down to about the 5-foot height. Something like that. Okay, let's put her over here. Let's pull her down there, and she's going to have to size up about half of that. More than half of that, actually, like that. Does that look about right? Looks about right. No, she's a little tall. Okay, go down to about there. Cool. So anyway, you can do stuff like this, but you got to be careful because you want to make sure that you're still doing shadows. When you're doing these shadows, you need to be sure that you're casting shadows in directions that make sense for where the light's coming from. So she has a really strong light source right behind her here, and she has a really strong light source right next to her over there. So I'm actually going to duplicate this one twice. Let's duplicate that. I'm going to paint. Oh, I got to select this first. Get rid of that. There we go. And that. And let's just kind of paint it all in black. Whoops. Select inverse to reverse that, then paint. That is her shadow. And let's do two of these. So I'm going to duplicate both. One is going to go sort of down and a little to the side. So if you hold control, you can stretch it. So that's how you get like an angled shadow that's kind of going away. This one isn't really super accurate, but it got the point across. So then I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to take that one, put it down and all the way out this way. So you can do stuff like this to kind of you know, get a sense of what the other light sources are doing in the space, if you have really strong light sources. So anyway, these are both going to be really light, something like that. So I'm not going to go through the whole fading process because that's not exactly what I'm trying to do. What I want to point out is this person on the left has a very different quality than the person on the right. The person on the right is so sharp and so I guess like realistic looking that sometimes if you're going for an academic rendering, it's not really the right thing for you. So you can do a few things to it. The filter gallery is always very helpful. So when you go to, oh, I'm on the wrong layer, this one. Yeah. When you go to the filter gallery, look for things that are going to give it like a visual quality that you appreciate. So there are a bunch of things you can do. Let's go to, why can't I go to the filter gallery on this? Hang on. So the error was my image mode was set to 16-bit, and I guess in order to do filter gallery, it has to be 8-bit. Don't ask me why. I don't know what it means, but that's what you have to do. So anyway, we're going to go to the filter gallery. Now the filter gallery is pretty cool. It allows you to work on and with the image right here in like a sort of separate window. You guys can stop me if I'm like totally just beating a dead horse and you've already seen all this stuff. No? All new? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is try to find something that gives it like a sort of an abstract character. So something like Crosshatch, even though now she looks like a serial killer, can actually help quite a bit. So let's take a look at that. Nope. It's scary as hell. Nope. Sorry. I'm going to have nightmares about that. I don't know why I did it so much on her face and not anywhere else. It's so weird. Nah, I don't like that. Let's see. No, that just makes her look like she's in the Matrix. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. So, you can do like sketchy things on top of your characters or whatever, you know, the people in your image to try and like abstract them. So I actually kind of like doing stuff like this, so it just it just kind of pulls it out and makes it look like something else is in the image, and it doesn't look too real. That one probably could have been done better. Let's find another example. Stylized, no, texture. What was I looking for? I was looking for something. Sometimes just this texture helps. Oh, we got all the extra stuff in there too. Well, let's go with, whoops. Sorry guys, I keep jumping backwards too far. There we go. Which one did I choose before? Water paper, yeah, that was it. And let's set this at 50. 50. Was that 50? That wasn't 50. I don't know what the original was anymore. What was default? Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to roll with that for a little bit, and you can still kind of crop off the edge if you want, and if you don't like it. So something that helps when you do something like this is to add like a drop shadow, so it kind of looks like a decoupage sort of thing, like you kind of pasted it on there, so it's something else. If you double click that, you can add a very small. Oh, look at that. That's not what I. Oh, because you have to crop it. That's fine. Okay, let's not worry about drop shadow if we're using the whiteout method. So anyway, I'm going to stop this video where it is. We're going to move on to some landscape elements and stuff, and we'll touch on some more like people rendering and stuff like that at other times as well. But what questions do you have? Okay.